Tuesday. This is Tuesday, the 8th of September. Welcome back. I'm going to keep this video short for those of you who are at home, but watch the whole thing. The first thing I need to talk about is I read through the stuff, the responses, and some of the responses, like I'm going to use the last thing, the Let's Play Twister One Last Time as an example, is worth 50 points. Some people, including like the studio audience here at this hour, did a really great job in terms of like bringing in information and making a solid argument and writing well. Almost everybody did an okay job, which is fantastic. Some of us, a handful of us, just wrote one sentence. And so I just need to be clear that because we started school and we were out for like half the year, I cut everybody some slack and gave everybody full credit, but I won't next time. So if this applies to you, one sentence on a question like that is not good enough to get points. It's worth 50 points. So here's the new rule. If I don't give you I'm not yelling, I'm just bringing this to your attention. If I don't give you like a requirement like 10 sentences or 2 paragraphs or whatever, always assume that the requirement is 5 sentences minimum, right? Some of you managed to do it without 5 sentences, but it was still a good argument. Some people were just like, I disagree with the statement. Well, I can't work with that, right? I think of me as a coach, because I'm your speech coach, and think of the assignment as like a tackling dummy. And I need you to run into it. I need you to break your collarbone on the assignment. Just think of it that way. So there's that. So make sure you're doing that. Here's what we're doing. I'm coming back to you guys as well so you can hear this. On reflecting on the first few weeks of school, I feel like it was stressful. I feel like the first few weeks were rougher than we anticipated. And so I've been rethinking what I'm doing. So here's what we're going to do. I want to get to arts-based analysis. That's the whole point of what I teach. The idea was I'm going to use the first 9 weeks to get us into it, to develop the skills that we need to do that, and then we'll start doing stuff. I think I am speeding things up now. I think upon reflection, we're just going to dive in, and I'm going to teach you as we go the skills, because I think that's how it works, because we're just going to start creating art. And we're starting today. We're going to write a monologue based on our quantitative research of tornadoes, and I'll explain that in a second, but let me just explain this. Arts-based analysis is like any other analysis. Like if you're doing a research paper and you write an essay, that is an analysis. It's not necessarily art-based. Or like if you dissect a frog and then identify the organs and then like maybe decide how these organs works. That's also analysis, but those aren't arts-based analysis. You can also analyze things by taking them and creating some kind of art, and it's any kind of art. So like the Thriller dance, for example, which we'll be learning shortly, is it's an arts-based analysis, right, of potentially of like thriller movies, of like horror movies. Any play is an arts-based analysis. So Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is an arts-based analysis of autism and family relationships and childhood and a bunch of things, right? So if you were going to study autism, you could read scientific studies, and that would be important to do to understand it, right? And then you could also see this play, Curious Incident, and it would also be important to see that to understand it. They work together. One's not more important than the other, but they're both necessary. And the job of the artist is to create these analyses, which are works of art, that help people understand the world they live in. So I want to get to that. I want to just jump into that. So here's what we're going to do. Number 1, kids at home, you have basically 2 assignments this week. 1 is this monologue, which I'm about to talk about, and 2 is keep up with the Curious Incident reading logs, right? So that's 10 pages a day, but really they're 5 pages because play scripts are smaller, and do those reading logs, and then you'll be caught up. We'll be doing some actual art in here this week, and I'll bring you along with that, but you probably don't have the stuff to do that at home, and that's okay. Let's talk about the monologue. So this applies to you guys too. So here are the rules for a monologue. Number 1, it's one person talking. So you're going to create a character. It can be you, or it can be a character of your choice that you create, and you're going to write a monologue. That's one person saying something. Here are the requirements. They're right here. I'll put a picture up so you can see it better. It needs to be a minimum of 1 minute when you read it like at a normal pace, or a maximum of 2 minutes when you read it at a normal pace. So what you can think of is if you write a one-page double-spaced monologue, that's going to be about 1 minute, right? So that should be okay. The character has to want or need something, right? That's important. The character in the monologue has to want or need something. Here's a trick. Make them having an argument, like they're in the middle of an argument, and this is their big speech in the argument with somebody, right? They want something, they need something, and there needs to be consequences if they don't get what they want or need, right? Next, there must, said that, must be consequences. You have to include information about tornadoes. Now, here's the thing. The monologue can be all about tornadoes. It can be not at all about tornadoes, and you use some information as your point. Like a character, and you can steal this if you want. A character could be like, it's just like tornadoes. There's like a 1 in whatever chance that, right, or whatever, and that's it. You've used the information you've researched, you've put it in there to make a point, but your monologue isn't necessarily about tornadoes, right? So for the purposes of this sort of introduction to arts-based analysis, just use a little information, or make the whole thing about you're arguing about tornadoes. It's whatever. But use the data that you accumulated last week. It can be funny, it can be serious, or it can be both, right? So that's the assignment. We're going to do that in class today.
You should put an example monologue on Classroom.
I will, that's a good idea. Chandler says put an example on Classroom. I will do that by the end of this hour. So you'll have this assignment, this video, an example, and I'll walk you through how to get there. For the monologue assignment, here's a screen record for you. If you go to Docs, where I am now, up here you'll find the template gallery, so you can get to Docs however you get to Docs. Go to email or whatever, click the squares, go to Docs. When you get there, you may not see the template gallery because you may have it turned off, so you'll need to turn the template gallery on, and then you've got these arrows up here that you can scroll through and see all of the templates that are available to you. So when you do that, you should find the monologue template. If you click on that, that's what you're going to go with to write this. So here are stage directions, and this is where they go. So if it's me, if you're writing this, just delete this stuff and write your stage directions if you have them. Your character name is here, so maybe I'm going to call him Bob. It's capitalized and centered. Then in parentheses, there aren't always parentheses, but maybe I'm going to say opening the door so that I know what's going on. And then his dialogue starts here, right? If I need to interrupt with stage directions, I do that here. It's justified like 3.5, so you can move these things if you need to. And then go back to the character name and then write continued if you have interspersed descriptions, stage directions. All right? If all else fails, just open a doc and write the monologue and center the name. All right? But this is actually the format that you should use. This is justified an inch in, this is justified an inch in too on this end, right? Okay, there you have it. So that's your assignment for the week, that and the Curious Incident reading logs. That's important. We'll be reading them in class today. If you're planning on being in class tomorrow, but you're not here today for some reason, make sure you get Act 1 done. Read Act 1. You should be finished or close to finished with that anyway. And then we're going to read Act 2 together this week. All right, that's it. Have a great day or week or whatever.